How are you, sir? Brennan Mejia, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Look, congratulations on Corrective Measures. Fantastic film. First question I have for you, man, is what was it about Corrective Measures that interested you in the story and the script? Was it about the premise that really got you in?
Well, as you know, I've played a Power Ranger, so as good guy, black and white as it can get on a TV show. It's very down the middle. Here are the people saving the world. Here are the people destroying the universe. Whatever, stop them. Corrective Measures was a little more blurred with the line of who was the protagonist, who was the antagonist. Even my character, who was kind of a good guy, was still in prison. So he obviously committed a crime. So it was really cool, to dive into a character and be empathetic for him, even though he wasn't the typical good guy I'm known for being, who knows no wrong.
Absolutely. Now you play Diego Diaz, who was kind of our audience's eyes into San Tib prison. Can you talk to me a little bit about Diego and the character of Diego?
Yeah, so Diego, funny enough, they actually cut one of the scenes from the movie that established me at my house. My character is an empath. For those who are what's an empath? If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Mantis is an empath, putting Thanos to sleep, like a boss. So that's my character, except he isn't trained in empath abilities. So maybe, God willing, if there's a sequel, maybe he'll get stronger, whatever. But the scene that was cut, it's me at home, a whole bunch of bills, the house is a mess. You can tell that the family is fallen on hard times. Talking with my wife, and I can feel empathetically my baby's pain. We're so poor, we can't buy food for our baby. So I end up asking her, hey, do you still have your cousin's number who's some kind of criminal or whatever? Because I wanted to just one job as the driver, because he said he could, get me money to take care of them. Of course, I end up getting caught, and that gets me in prison. So good intentions, it's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You want to do the right thing to take care of your family, but you went about it the wrong way because the system wasn't allowing you to succeed, in a sense. So
yeah, that's interesting, because that scene does give a lot of exposition onto why Diego does get himself into San Tib prison. But we do get an explanation when your character explains it to Tom Cavanagh's character a little bit about why he was in there. Now, Diego's not a big fan of really talking about what his abilities are. He likes keeping that more to himself. Why is that?
So I personally think an empath like Diego, or at least the way his powers are portrayed in the movie, when they are untrained, it's more of a handicap versus a power, in the sense that Diego is constantly feeling people's pain around him. If anything, the nullifying equipment that stops him from feeling power is probably a blessing in disguise, because he doesn't know to turn it off. The scene when all the powers get turned back on, and he can't, that's the first time he is able to literally block it out. So his whole life is just constantly feeling things, which I think is probably part of the reason why he couldn't hold down a job to take care of his family, because he just feels everything all the time. And that would be psychotic if that actually happened to you.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, I know that you're a DC fan, and you get to share the screen with Tom Cavanagh, who plays Gordon. He's kind of like Diego's mentor, per se, within the confines of the prison. Can you talk to me about working with him and sharing the screen with Tom?
Oh my gosh, Tom, there's not a lovelier guy to be had. Honestly, he's just a Harrison Wells of knowledge. See what I did there?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. My brain has problems. But no, seriously, he's so humble. And every day, him and I would just talk, and I'd be like, Tom, I know you obviously have way more experience than I do. Can I just pick your brain? Literally, he mentored me in real life, between takes. I was how do you come up with the mannerisms and all the energy? And he just broke it down for me, a little bit of what he likes to do to bring his characters to life. And him and I both agree it all starts with knowing the lines so well that you don't have to focus on it. If you're a dancer, the choreo so well, you don't have to be okay, left arm, right arm. You just can then put in your energy. And that's the same with lines and a performance, in my opinion. You have to have it, unless you're allowed to improv. But if you're doing it verbatim, you don't improv Shakespeare, right? You do Shakespeare. You have to know it to then be able to not think about it by knowing it so well.
So coming into this project, would you say that your approach for a role was a little bit different than after talking to Tom Cavanagh?
Well, so it's a little bit more of the prep work. It was nice to hear that what I felt like I was already thinking was, quote unquote, a good way about going on my auditions or preparing for roles, was what someone so established in the industry also said was a good thing to do. So it just gave me validation, okay, even though I'm not booking all these auditions, I'm doing the work. I'm getting better every time. I'm not, if anything, because all you can do is this is my performance. Do you like it? And they're like, it's good, but we were looking for pistachio ice cream and you had chocolate this time. Like nothing gets chocolate. We just didn't want chocolate. And other than like, oh, we wanted chocolate ice cream. Your chocolate ice cream is just subpar. Like, you know what I mean? So if anything is in my control, I want it to be 110%. If it's outside of my control, obviously I can't control it. If they want someone 6'3", what am I going to do? You know?
Sure. Hey, honestly, that was a great analogy using the ice cream and booking auditions. I think that's a fantastic analogy for that, for any young actor watching this. Now, the only person that seems to really connect with your character, Diego, in Santib is Dr. Isabelle Joseph, played by Haley Sales. Can you talk to me about their relationship in the film and how we kind of see that explored a little bit?
Yeah, Haley is amazing to work with, and we still stay in touch. She's actually having a concert in a few weeks in LA, so we're going to go try. My wife and I are going to go try to see her perform because she's Canadian based most of the time. But yeah, Dr. Isabelle. So I don't know if you've read the graphic novels themselves, but Corrective Measures is based off of graphic novels, and at least the novels I was given, because they gave us some to read, I couldn't find Diego Diaz in the novels. Like
you were a character created specifically for the films, I believe.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, like there's one character who was like kind of like maybe him, but he ended up dying. I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just blind. But she's in the comics, and her character has her own backstory, and you know, she's just so, she doesn't see the criminals any worse than herself, because we all have monsters inside of us, and so she works with them, and it almost feels like it's a path of redemption a little bit for her with whatever her backstory is. And they didn't flesh out her story quite 100% with what I saw in the comics. But she's, yeah, like you mentioned, she's super there for Diego. If anything, I don't know, like there's like somewhat maybe potentially a spark or something between them, but like Diego's obviously married, so he doesn't like pursue it or anything.
Sure.
But you know, she's just a friendly face of two people, her and Tom Cavanagh, who plays Tweety in the movie. So
yeah, it feels like that's the beginnings of building blocks. If we do go towards a sequel for Corrective Measures, that we at least have the foundation to build for that relationship between Isabelle and Diego. I mean, it's there. Now, look, from everything that I'm told, you guys shot in Vancouver, correct?
Yes, and a little bit in Atlanta.
And a little bit in Atlanta. So we're going to get to that in a second, because one of Diego, he gets a little bit of respect here in the prison with a little skirmish that he falls into with Payback, played by Dan Payne. Now, it seems like this is the chance that he gets to meet with the kind of one that's running the prison gang there, Bruce Willis's character, Loeb. And this is where your character, Diego, gets that meeting with Loeb after this kind of respect is shown to Diego. Can you talk to me about working with the iconic Bruce Willis?
Honestly, it's one of those things that as a young actor, you're like, I just want to be employed. You know, I just want to work and do what I love and be able to make a living. And, you know, some people have like, you know, they think way above. No, like I'm already planning my speech when I'm on stage. Like I just like, I never even know when I'm going to book a job or anything. And then to hear the people who are in this movie, Michael Rooker, Tom Cavanagh, Bruce Willis, I was just blown away. I was like, I'm really going to like meet these people and work with them. Like, what the heck is my life, you know? And so like Bruce, just when he walks on stage, there's just like a demeanor about him, you know, and just like a presence. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to bring my A game, because obviously like you don't get much, you know, like Bruce is the top, like what, who, you know what I mean? Like you're there with the guy, with one of like the elite. So, you know, but again, like I talked about with Tom Cavanagh, like I did all my scenes with him prior to my scenes with Bruce. And it just, being confident in your own performance makes it so much more easy for me. Like I don't really get starstruck typically in the normal sense, but I can respect when someone is so skilled in their craft. Like, whoa, like I want to be on my A game so I don't look like an idiot. So I like to rise to the occasion versus bringing someone down. You know what I mean?
Now, this is one of Bruce's final films. What does it feel like to be a part of a legacy like that? You're a part of a legacy that Bruce in a Bruce Willis film. What does it feel like to be a part of that?
I'm just honored, honestly. Like I never thought I'd work with someone as esteemed as Bruce Willis, and B, to be in one of his final films. It's just a blessing. It's super cool. I'm really thankful for the opportunity. And it shows me that if you keep going, like acting is such a marathon. Some people, it's like a sprint. Like they just show up, they book their first audition, and all of a sudden they're a lead in the show. But I've noticed when that happens, sometimes when you get off that show, if you started young anyway, you don't know necessarily, like it feels weird entering quote unquote normal life.
Right.
Like there's this disconnect because it's so different if you're working on a set versus what life is when you're not.
Right.
And hopefully like a job gives you momentum into another job, but that's not always the case. Years go by between jobs sometimes. So it's
absolutely. Now, another person you get to share the screen with is world famous legendary actor Michael Rooker, who plays Warden Delvin. Can you talk to me about working with Michael and the character of Warden Delvin?
Yeah, so the energy he brings, that character was just like written for him. It feels like just the way he walks on set. He did a Q&A because we did the screening in Vancouver the weekend before the movie was released on Tubi, and he did a Q&A on stage, and he was talking about how he wanted like a haircut, like really like a bowl cut, literally just like tape around his head and then buzz around. And the hairstylist was like afraid to do it because like, if Michael Rooker, you don't want to mess up his hair. He's like, no, I want it to be all like messed up because like that's what he felt like his character was, and he was willing to do that, just like to step in for this role. And the energy, again, he was just super kind on and off, like he didn't have this demeanor of like, oh, I'm way better than everyone here. He was talkative, he was nice. One of the scenes, like actually the take made it into the scene where like I started stuttering when I'm talking to him. It's like, do you stutter much, boy, or whatever he said. He improv that because I just happened to stutter in that specific take. And it was just cool to like hear him like, it was still close to his character, but like deviate just enough to like, whoa, be in the moment because you don't know what's gonna come out of this guy.
Which goes back to your preparation, right? Because it's you guys just feeding off of the energy and knowing the material so well. Now, I got to ask you, what did you want to bring to the role of Diego that wasn't necessarily on the page?
Handstands.
Did you get it? Did you get any handstands in?
Yeah. They actually, the director and the DP, so director Sean Patrick O'Reilly, and Sterling was the DP, and they were like, so what would you do? Like, what do you think Diego would do in his jail cell to pass time? Like, I was like, well, definitely work out. Like, oh, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, handstand push-ups and stuff. And like, you can do that? Yeah, really? So I just started doing them. They're like, dude, what the heck? If we known, we would have like written it more into the script.
Right.
So I was just so happy that I got to do a handstand in Power Rangers in one episode. I got to do a handstand in this movie. Anytime I can sneak acrobatics into a film, whether it has anything to do with my character or not. But I felt like it gave validity to how someone like Diego, who's like, what, I'm 5'9", could take down Dan Payne, who's like pushing 7 feet in real life almost.
He was huge, yeah.
He is huge. He is just a giant man. And they hired people who were over 7 feet tall. There's multiple people in that film truly that tall.
Yeah, Daniel Cudmore's one of them from the
Yes. Yes, yeah, Colossus.
A man in real life.
But sweetheart, super kind-hearted man.
Yes, super nice dude. Now, Sean Patrick O'Reilly makes his live-action directorial feature debut with Corrective Measures. He's done a ton of animation films, but he's also the founder of Arcana Comics, which is the one that has the IP to Corrective Measures. What does his directing style add to Corrective Measures?
He is so there's different styles of directors. Some are like, you know what, this is what I want you to do. Just dress the part, look the part, and just say your lines and shut up. Don't add anything. Like, I have a vision. He's not that way. He's totally open to feedback. And I saw Tom Cavanagh go up, and even someone with Tom's caliber was respectful, and he respects the chain of command. He's like, do you mind if I go about it this way and, add a little bit of whatever, but like you always check, or I feel respectfully, it's, time to do it. And he would give us the green light to play with our characters a bit, like the handstands, like in the fight scene, allowing us to have a little bit of feedback of what we want it to look like or whatever, he understands, like, that set had such an energy of collaboration. Everyone was on the same team and wanting it, not like, oh, it's the superstars versus these people who just were lucky enough to work with us. No, everyone was like, all right, let's play ball. Okay, you want to do this? You want to do that? All right, great. And Sean's like, yeah, well, that's cool. Actually, yeah, I like that. But do you mind doing it this way just so we have one in the can? And then, so he's just very open to allowing us to play if we wanted to at a scene.
So that collaborative effort with Sean is super easy. It seems like you guys had a really good collaboration process with him, huh?
Yes, 100%. Such a kind guy, so welcoming. We actually filmed the scene that got cut with my wife and baby in the beginning. I believe was shot at his house. So
oh, really?
Yeah. So like he is like a king of nerds. Like the lair where we were waiting for our scenes, he has like the Thanos gauntlet and like swords on the wall and like the Iron Man helmet, all these things. I was like, dude, I want to be you when I grow up. Like,
right. Now we do get to meet your wife and kid in the film. They are in a scene when you call back home, explaining some things that are going on. But there's this one scene in there. It's the superpower prison fight scene. It looked amazing. It looks so much fun. And let me just say, the makeup on this film was on point.
Yes,
fantastic job all around. Now, if there is a sequel to Corrective Measures, because look, there is a sequel to the graphic novel comic series, a few of them, I believe. Would you be up to reprising your role as Diego in a future installment of Corrective Measures?
I would love to. I honestly want to see how. So, I mean, Corrective Measures, spoiler alert, ends with him getting transferred out of San Tiburon. So it'd be interesting to see, does it follow everyone's storyline individually, or does he somehow commit a crime and he has to get thrown back into San Tib for a specific reason, maybe to go like undercover, or like there's so many ways they can play it. And also potentially seeing him develop his empathic abilities. Like, can he Jedi mind control emotions, though?
Right.
The mind, like influence people to do things. Like, I would just be excited.
It's so fascinating because like we were saying earlier, this isn't a character that's really established in the comics. So it feels like we're taking a kind of like a different path with the franchise. But you're right. I would love to see that kind of fleshed out and explored. Now, look, empathy is such a big theme for Diego in this film, and it's included in his powers set. What would you say that you learned through empathy about playing Diego? Because a lot of actors say they learn about playing certain characters through empathy. So what did you think you learned about yourself through playing Diego through empathy?
So one of my acting coaches back in the day would always say, you can't judge your character. If you're playing a villain or whatever, remember, a villain is always the hero of their own story.
Right.
They don't think they're wrong. They believe in what they're doing like 99% of the time. Or why would you, like a good villain, you almost feel bad that you're rooting for them. Like with Thanos, like you understand, not that you agree, but you understand. I mean, maybe you agree, and then we need to talk after. But like,
I mean, Eric Killmonger, same way in Black Panther.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Or Voldemort, like, twisted thinking, but I understand what would lead them down that rabbit hole. It's like, I'm never going to go that way, but okay,
right?
I get it somewhat, a little bit, like 1%. I understand. So with Diego, it's not like he murdered people and is like, well, I had to do it because he was just the driver. But just the driver is a slippery slope. So, well, I was just a bank robber. Well, I just shot one person who tried to stop me from, like, I'm curious to know, would Diego have stopped, if it got dicey, or would he have drew the line? Kind of like why did he save the loaf? Right. Personally, I feel like it was more he saw Dr. Isabelle in duress and saw this crazy guy. And he didn't know if she was dead or just unconscious. And just the adrenaline of the moment, he tackled payback. And they actually cut the fight. Like I have it on my phone, which one day, if I get permission, maybe I'll release it. But it was like an actual little like jujitsu fight. I get kicked and slammed into the wall. It's not, they just kind of panned away. And I was like, no, I want to see the fight.
Yeah, because when they cut back, you have them in this like hold and locked up. Yeah, that's
Yeah, you don't get control, as the actor, whatever happens in the editing room, maybe it was like a time thing or they wanted to keep it on Bruce long. I don't know. But regardless, it'd be cool with Diego. It's nice to know, like, you can't, without, you don't know what you would do in a situation, right? And Diego is like, he's not a far cry from Brennan, but like he's far enough removed from me to be, I had to ponder these things a little deeper. Like then when I played Power Rangers, that Tyler was just like a more campy version of Brennan in a sense, like, yeah, if I had powers, I would totally do those things, but yeah, so definitely a different route.
Now, I was just recently talking to the current cast in Dino Fury about Power Rangers and their Power Ranger boot camp. Speaking of Power Ranger boot camp, because one thing I find so fascinating about it is you really get to learn every facet, I feel like, of the entertainment industry, especially at a young age, whether it be, learning your lines in acting, stunt work, preparation, ADR, it's all there. So how did the Power Rangers boot camp per se help you really prepare for something like Corrective Measures?
Learning to work as a team. Again, I don't believe in self-made individuals. I think everyone, whether you consciously learned from someone or when people are like, I'm self-taught, I'm more like you're self-trained maybe, but you weren't self-taught because you watched someone somewhere. And that's a way of being taught, by seeing. You emulated it. Unless you were locked away in a room your whole life and then you walked out knowing all these skills. Okay, you were self-taught, but so for me, it's like, okay, how I want to take the experience of these people who know so much more than me, and it's being forever a student, forever a white belt. When you think you know it all, that's when you fail. And
Constantly learning.
yes. So even if I could already do some fight stuff, because like I knew Krav Maga and judo and stuff, learning to fight for camera for Rangers is way different, because in normal fighting, you cover your face. You don't want to be open. But for camera, it's like, let them see your face. So make those swings big so the camera reads it in your reaction. I was like, but then you're gonna get hit in the face. No, it looks good though. It's like, oh, okay. So that was like my first tussle with that. And then like with other scenes, knowing like Tom was really good. He's like, know what kind of length they're using, if they're on a 30 or 100, like, because that will change like how big your expression needs to be. Because if it's like tighter to you, you don't want to move big like a Disney Channel show, because then you're gonna bounce out of frame. If it's further away, you do need to move a bit more, or you just look like you're standing here doing nothing. Like you gotta know, every take he would ask, what's my frame? So he would know, or what are you shooting on? And those are things that I started asking halfway through the movie. Like I want to know, and B, like I want it to be better too. So, and it's just things as an actor, sometimes it's not my job to know the camera stuff. Well, it's your job to know everything on some level if you want it to look really good. Because if you don't have a dialogue with them, then you don't know what you're framed like. So you may be doing all this stuff with your hands or whatever, and they can't see your hands because it's a close-up, and you didn't know that because you didn't decide to ask. So
what a fantastic note for any young actor out there, is really understanding the process of what you're being shot on to present yourself in the best way. I think that's a fantastic tip. That's something that it wouldn't even cross my mind. Now, quick question, since we're talking about Power Rangers for a second, how would Tyler Navarro fare in Santib prison?
I mean, so I don't know. Would a Noli work on a Power Ranger? Because I'm not like Dino Thunder, where I have like superpowers when I'm not more.
You don't.
Really?
But essentially, let's say you had control of the gem a little bit, but they had still power dampened you. Would he fare? Would he fare well there, especially with his personality being a little bit more bubbly?
I think so. I think he would try to find the good in a couple of inmates, and like maybe especially like with Tom Cavanagh's character before the tragic turn, he could have maybe pulled Tom back from the edge a little bit more. Diego was a bit more shocked by the whole thing and didn't react in a timely manner, and he was just staying with the guard. I would have liked him to run after Tom, but Tom would have had to knock me out or something if that happened, because So that, for that reason, I get why the direction didn't go that way. But I was just like, why am I just here with this dead guard? Why am I?
Right. Now, I have a quick question. I was recently watching an old episode of the 90210 reboot. And did I catch a young Brennan Mejia in there playing a shirtless, like Abercrombie and Fitch type of model in there?
Jimmy, window, I'm on it. That guy? Yeah, that was
yes.
Yes. That audition was literally like, okay, go shirtless and show us you doing push-ups. And I did handstand push-ups and like clap push-ups, all these like fancy things, and just to show I could do more than they wanted. And then I just did normal push-ups in the show. But yeah, that was me.
But you were in a scene with Matt Lanter, who voices Anakin in Star Wars Clone Wars, which didn't even cross my mind at the time, but that's insane. And I had no idea you were even in 90210 until I was like, wait a minute, is that Brennan Mejia in there?
I didn't know he was Anakin's voice until this very conversation.
Is that right?
Yeah, but that's cool.
Yeah, he was Anakin's voice the whole time in the Clone Wars, the whole time. That was crazy.
Dang.
Yeah. So look, switch gears for a second.
Do you mind if I jump back real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just thinking back onto the scene why I didn't chase after Gordon Tweedy, Diego's reason would be different from Tyler, because Tyler immediately just wants to go save everyone. Diego, his ultimate goal was to get back to his family, and going with Gordon Tweedy would have incriminated him and then stopped his whole plan of getting out, because then he would have been potentially thought of being a murderer too. So that's why I didn't, but in the moment I forgot, and I just wanted to clarify.
No, it's all good. You know what? I really like the idea too, that you have ideas for where you want to see Diego go, because I think that there's a handful. Like, could he be an informant in another prison, or like, what could happen in this other prison, and even furthermore explore his empathic powers. That's something that we only get glimpses of a little bit. And I feel like, we don't see him really gain full control. We see him gain control one time when he's talked through Dr. Joseph's. But other than that, we don't really see the control that he has over it, which I think would be really cool to open up a film with Diego trying to really hone in on what his empathic skills are. Switching gears for a second, we are next year we're going to be on the precipice of the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers, and obviously Yeah, right. I can't believe it. It's almost been 30 years, which is insane to me. Now, with Power Rangers being such a, I think it's like the 23rd longest running show of all time, somewhere along that field. What are you as a fan? What would you like to see from the 30th anniversary of the show?
Honestly, I'd like to throw on my nostalgia glasses and see some of the OG MMPR guys jump back in there. You know, I mean, whether it's like all of them on some capacity, at least cameoing, so we get like a couple episodes or even one episode of like, this is Kimberly's episode, this is Billy's episode, or whatever. And then you could have like the mentor be whoever the heck, I don't care. But I feel like you gotta, you know, it comes full circle. And like, there's so many revivals and reboots right now going on. I mean, Teen Wolf, just they're doing a movie again or something.
Yeah, Teen Wolf, Saved by the Bell, 90210 just had one.
iCarly, obviously.
iCarly, yeah. There was a rumors a Hillary Duff reboot was in the make.
Yep.
Or what was it? Not Hillary Duff. Whatever that her show was called. Maybe it was called Hillary Duff.
Lizzie McGuire.
Lizzie McGuire. There you go.
Yeah.
But it seems to run rampant. So what you're saying is you'd like to see a season focused around those original Rangers in the 30th anniversary and just kind of like a all-on fanfare.
Yeah, or at least heavily drawing upon them, whether the entire season focuses on them or maybe, I don't know, like some alternate dimension. They get pulled into a world and they are now the mentors to the Mighty Morphin Rangers, who are a different cast though. So
that's a good idea.
So maybe it's not them, and then maybe they can still kind of morph, but not, or like they only have so many morphs in them. So like every time they do it, like the counter drops and they can only help them like 5 times and then their power is gone forever. Or I don't know what they could do, but like, and I'm never opposed to them bringing Tyler back because I do like, you know, morphing here and there. So I don't know how that even makes sense, but hey, it's Power Rangers. Throw
well, look, we do know that some of the original cast will be returning to the franchise for the 30th anniversary. Is there any chance that the Dino Charge team would be represented in the 30th anniversary in some capacity?
If they are, no one has called me up. So I don't know. I mean, everyone's like, we can't wait to see Dino Charge and Dino Fury. I was like, it's not happening, but that'd be cool too.
And we can put it on a wish list. I feel, hey, Netflix does it does have the rights to Power Rangers, and I feel like if anything, I think breaking away from the episodic the way that it was on Nickelodeon gives it more room. And look, just because that there's always a new season of Power Rangers doesn't mean that we can't expand on past seasons, because I feel that like with Netflix, the one thing that's great about it is, look, I have a 6-year-old now, just the bingeability, 7-year-old now, the bingeability of watching Power Rangers is a lot different than watching it week to week to week to week. So there's definitely room to expand there a little bit.
100%. If they went animated, you know, even if they want to do live action MMPR and then like animated short series of Dino Charge, and then we come back and voice ourselves. I mean, like, look, I could like unleash the power. You know, I could voice myself. Like, you know, it could work. So I just think that'd be a good idea. But
and you have the ADR work. I mean, you guys did it during your Power Rangers stay. I mean, you guys know how to do ADR with the best of them. So that is something, a skill set you guys did learn. Look, I got to ask you, because I know that you heavily ingrained in a circus performing. What are you working on right now currently within the circus or performing arts?
So actually tonight is opening night at the Great Y Circus, which is the one I started my whole performing career in. So for the next 3 weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, we have shows. I'm not actually performing at all this year, but I helped co-train one of the classes with my wife, and then I spot a few acts. But basically after our opening, you know, the act we trained performs, opens the show, I then go in the back and just train the whole time, like
really
on planches and L-sits and handstands. And that's basically, I'm just leveling up because it's kind of my happy place mentally. And not that stunt work, I love doing stunt work, but acting is where my passion truly is. So, but I love roles like Rangers that let me do both, you know.
Sure.
Action, but you're an actor. You're not just doing stunts. And you know, I want to talk. I don't want to be just punched in the face and then knocked out and no one knows who I am.
Now, look, I know that you're a huge fan of the superhero genre. Heck, you even were a superhero being in Power Rangers. And you got to work with the legendary Tom Cavanagh, who was on one of the most fantastic DC shows out there, The Flash. Is there a character in particular, whether it be from DC or Marvel or any of these other characters, is there a character that you say, you know what, I'd love to play that character if given the opportunity at some point?
Miguel O'Hara from Spider-Man 2099. Because
really?
He's Latino, as far as I know, right? Yeah, and he's a Spider-Man, and I'm sure they're not going to cast me as Peter Parker unless they decide to, like, you know, get a whole new version, but why would they right now? They're
Right,
hot
right.
with what they got. So just thinking in realistic terms of what potentially I could actually play. Jaime Reyes from Blue Beetle. I mean, I know he's cast already too, but just things like roles that or Nightcrawler from
Oh, that's a
X-Men.
fantastic choice.
He's Circus, right?
He's Circus?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would
Dick
do
Grayson is
Nightwing.
also Circus,
Yeah,
Nightwing.
exactly. Yep. So those are the ones if I could choose. Like, I think Nightwing would probably be like the ultimate from DC. And then for Marvel, I mean, there's so many characters. Literally just sign me up, coach. Just put me in the MCU.
Any of those characters, I'll be happily fine to play. Now that would be amazing. I can totally see the Nightwing, and you're completely right. I didn't even think Spider-Man 2099, but of course, it'd be great as Spider-Man 2099.
I don't know. I don't. This is the thing. I used to think, well, there's no chance it's ever going to happen. But I thought the same thing about Power Rangers. I thought the same thing about all these roles. Like, it has to be someone eventually. And if you think it's not you, then it's probably not going to be you. But if you believe, like, why not you? You know, and if it doesn't happen, you know, you move on. It's out of your control. But you go in with the thought that, like, I try to make every audition to the point where if we were going to shoot it that day, I'm ready to go shoot it. Like,
right.
You prep. Sometimes that's impossible because you literally get like a 10-hour turnaround. You're like, well, I could obviously make this better with an extra day. But within those 10 hours, what can I do to make this character alive? So
that's fantastic. And we already have a precedent for a few Power Ranger alumni that are in the MCU. I think the white Jungle Fury Ranger was in Daredevil. Eka Darville was in Jessica Jones. So come on, Brennan Mejia, Spider-Man 2099. Let's bring him in Marvel.
Let's go. Come on.
But yeah, Corrective Measures is a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great superhero sci-fi genre, and it's pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this. I highly recommend people go check it out if you're a fan of the superhero genre, if you're a fan of some of these Prison Break kind of stories, and heck, if you're a fan of Brennan and Power Rangers, go and check it out, or Bruce Willis, or Michael Rooker, or any of these other amazing actors that are in this film. Brennan, thank you so much for your time, man. Corrective Measures is a lot of fun, and fantastic job on the film.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, let's hang out soon, man. It's been too long.
Next week, my friend. Come on down.
Yes, I'm down for it.